What's up, legends? Welcome back to Business Legends. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into one of the wildest stories in tech history. OpenAI started in 2015 with a bunch of tech titans pledging $1 billion to save humanity from evil AI. Fast forward to today, they're worth $300 billion and basically control the future of artificial intelligence. But here's what nobody tells you. They almost imploded 3 different times, completely abandoned their original mission, and somehow triggered the biggest tech arms race since the internet. This is exactly how Sam Altman built the most valuable AI company on the planet. Picture this. It's December 2015, and Sam Altman is having dinner with Elon Musk at the Rosewood Hotel in Silicon Valley. They're freaking out about Google buying DeepMind and basically cornering the market on artificial intelligence. Their solution? Start a nonprofit that would develop AI for the good of humanity and give it away for free. Yeah, you heard that right, for free. They gathered 12 of the smartest people in AI, including Ilya Sutskever, who Musk literally poached from Google, and Greg Brockman, who left his CTO gig at Stripe. The pitch was simple. We're gonna build artificial general intelligence that benefits everyone, not just big tech companies. They raised $1 billion in pledges from people like Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, and Amazon. There was just one tiny problem. They only actually collected 130 million of it. But here's where it gets wild. While everyone thought OpenAI was this pure altruistic research lab, they were bleeding cash like crazy. In 2017 alone, they spent $7.9 million just on cloud computing. Their Dota 2 gaming bot. That thing required renting 128,000 CPUs and 256 GPUs from Google for weeks. They were paying their researchers corporate-level salaries to compete with Google and Facebook, which meant burning through millions every month. One researcher, Wojciech Zaremba, turned down offers worth 2 to 3 times his market value just to join OpenAI. The company was attracting the best talent in the world, but they were running on fumes. By 2018, Elon Musk saw the writing on the wall. He wanted to take over OpenAI completely, but the board said no. So he bounced, claiming conflict of interest with Tesla's self-driving cars. Plot twist: he never donated another penny after leaving. Check this out. By early 2019, OpenAI was facing a brutal reality. They had this amazing team, groundbreaking research, but they were about to run out of money. Sam Altman had a choice: shut down or completely flip the script. He chose option 3, turn OpenAI into a weird hybrid company that nobody had ever seen before. They created this thing called a capped profit model, where investors could make returns, but only up to 100 times their investment. Anything above that would go back to the nonprofit. It was like telling investors, hey, you can get rich but not too rich. Most VCs thought they were insane. But Microsoft saw an opportunity. They were getting destroyed by Google and AI, and here was this scrappy team with some of the best researchers in the world. In 2019, Microsoft dropped $1 billion on OpenAI. Then, another $1 billion. Then, another. Now here's the thing. While all this corporate drama was happening, OpenAI's researchers were cooking up something that would change everything. In June 2018, they published this super technical paper about something called a generative pre-trained transformer. Nobody outside of AI nerds cared. But inside OpenAI, they knew they were onto something massive. They kept iterating, building bigger and bigger models. GPT-2 in 2019 was so good at generating text that OpenAI initially refused to release it, claiming it was too dangerous. People called it a publicity stunt. Then came GPT-3 in 2020, which was even crazier. But still, outside of tech circles, nobody really knew what OpenAI was doing. They were burning through Microsoft's money, building these massive language models that cost millions to train. By 2022, they'd burned through billions with no clear path to profitability. So get this. It's November 2022, and OpenAI is sitting on this new model called GPT 3.5. Instead of just releasing it to developers like usual, someone had a crazy idea. What if we just let anyone talk to it, like for free? On November 30th, they quietly launched this thing called ChatGPT. No big marketing campaign, no hype, just a blog post saying, hey, try our new chatbot. Sam Altman later said they thought maybe it would be a cool research preview. They had no idea what was about to happen. Within 24 hours, ChatGPT was everywhere. Twitter was going insane. People were using it to write emails, code entire programs, even do their homework. 5 days later, they hit 1 million users. 2 months later, they had 100 million. It was the fastest growing consumer application in history. But here's where it gets insane. ChatGPT's explosion didn't just change OpenAI. It triggered the biggest panic in tech history. Over at Google, executives literally called a code red. The company that had invented the transformer technology that powered ChatGPT was suddenly playing catch-up. They rushed out their own chatbot called Bard, which famously gave a wrong answer in its very first demo and wiped $100 billion off Google's market cap. Microsoft saw their chance and pounced. In January 2023, they announced a $10 billion investment in OpenAI. But this wasn't charity. They negotiated a deal where they'd get 75% of OpenAI's profits until they recouped their investment. Suddenly, the nonprofit trying to save humanity was looking more like Microsoft's secret weapon against Google. Meanwhile, the entire tech world went absolutely nuts. Every VC in Silicon Valley was throwing money at anything with I in the pitch deck. NVIDIA, the company making the chips that powered all these AI models, saw their stock price explode. They became one of the most valuable companies in the world, basically overnight. New competitors popped up everywhere. Anthropic, founded by former OpenAI employees, raised billions. Google went into overdrive mode. Even Meta pivoted hard into AI. But OpenAI had something none of them had. They had ChatGPT, and ChatGPT had captured the world's imagination. By early 2023, OpenAI was generating $300 million in monthly revenue. Think about that. They went from burning cash to making more money in a month than most startups make in a decade. Plot twist. In November 2023, right before the one-year anniversary of ChatGPT, OpenAI's board did something nobody saw coming. They fired Sam Altman. Just straight up fired the CEO, who had orchestrated the most successful product launch in tech history. The board, led by chief scientist Ilya Sutskever, was worried that OpenAI was moving too fast and abandoning its original mission of AI safety. Within hours, OpenAI was in chaos. Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella was frantically making calls. Employees were threatening to quit en masse. Greg Brockman, the president, resigned immediately. It was like watching a $157 billion company commit suicide in real time. 5 days later, after one of the wildest corporate dramas ever, Sam was back as CEO. Ilya apologized. The board was restructured. OpenAI had survived, but the message was clear. This wasn't the nonprofit trying to save humanity anymore. Here's the reality check though. OpenAI might be worth $300 billion, but they're losing money faster than almost any company in history. In 2024 alone, they lost $5 billion. That's billion with a B. Every time someone uses ChatGPT, it costs OpenAI money in computing power. Training new models? That costs hundreds of millions. They're projecting they'll lose $14 billion by 2026. Their burn rate is so insane that they need to raise money constantly just to keep the lights on. In March 2025, they raised $40 billion from SoftBank, the largest private funding round in history. But here's the catch. If OpenAI doesn't convert to a full-for-profit company by the end of 2025, SoftBank can cut their investment in half. The nonprofit that was supposed to save humanity is being forced to become just another tech company. But check this out, despite burning cash like crazy, OpenAI's grip on AI is only getting stronger. ChatGPT now has 500 million weekly active users. They're generating $10 billion in annual recurring revenue. They're launching new products faster than competitors can copy them. GPT-4, their latest model, is so good that other companies are literally using it to train their own AI. Microsoft is spending $80 billion on AI infrastructure, mostly to support OpenAI. They're building data centers that use as much power as small cities. This isn't just a tech company anymore. It's becoming critical infrastructure for the entire economy. Lawyers use it to write briefs. Doctors use it to diagnose patients. Students use it to learn. We've basically handed over a piece of our collective intelligence to a company that's hemorrhaging money. So what's the endgame here? OpenAI says they'll hit $100 billion in revenue by 2029 and finally become profitable. But that requires maintaining 93% annual growth for 5 years straight. For context, only a handful of companies in history have ever done that, and they all had improving economics as they scaled. OpenAI's costs grow just as fast as their revenue. Every new user costs them money. Every new model costs more to train than the last one. They're betting that they'll invent artificial general intelligence before they run out of money. It's the ultimate Silicon Valley gamble. Lose billions today to control the future of intelligence tomorrow. And somehow, investors keep lining up to fund it. The craziest part: this might actually work. OpenAI has the best researchers, the most users, the deepest pockets, and a massive head start. They've already changed how we work, learn, and create. They forced Google to reorganize their entire company. They made Microsoft relevant in consumer tech again. They triggered an AI arms race between the US and China. Love them or hate them, OpenAI went from 12 nerds in a room worried about evil AI to the most important technology company in the world in less than a decade. They abandoned their nonprofit mission, yeah. They're losing more money than some countries' GDP, sure. But they also put AI in the hands of 500 million people, and showed us a glimpse of what's possible when machines can truly understand and generate human language. Here's what I think is wild. OpenAI's story isn't really about artificial intelligence. It's about what happens when Silicon Valley's move fast and break things mentality meets technology that could literally reshape human civilization. Sam Altman and his team didn't just build a chatbot. They triggered a revolution that nobody can control anymore. Not them, not Microsoft, not the government. ChatGPT is out there, and it's changing everything. The company that started as a non-profit to protect humanity from AI became the very thing they feared. A massive corporation racing to build AGI as fast as possible. Consequences be damned. But maybe that was always going to happen. Maybe the only way to shape the future is to build it yourself, even if it means burning $40 billion along the way. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as the biggest threats. OpenAI saw Google dominating AI and decided to flip the entire game board. They gave away their product for free until the world couldn't live without it. They burned billions to buy time. They survived boardroom coups and existential crises. And now, they're sitting on what might be the most valuable technology ever created. Whether they'll survive long enough to profit from it is another question. But one thing's for sure, they've already changed the world. And we're just getting started. Until next time, keep building your legend. Peace.